Hi, my name is Felicia. Welcome to my channel. Here I talk about everything about mindset, money and wealth creation, and share my knowledge and my experiences and my mistakes, my good and bad, and so that you don't have to make the same mistake. This video I go through several things that came to a surprise to me in my early retirement. The first one is to do with the investment philosophy. You don't need to take as much risk as when you're trying to grow your wealth. So once you got there, the race is over and one can calm down. And that's sort of referred to in the book by Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money. He talks about, in one of the chapters, he talks about to start de-risking and not taking on unnecessary risk. So that's one thing I've taken forward. On the way there, we talk about the Trinity study where your financial freedom number is based on 25 times your annual expenses, and that fund should last you 30 years. So based on that, once you got there, and you may take on this higher risk to get there, but once you got there, just trying to de-risk stuff and just maintain an even playing field, and so that and monitor your retirement fund so that it would last. And along the way, you can actually adjust your spending habits. So you could initially start with a higher percentage, 5%, 6%, because in the first 10 years you've got more energy. Depends what age you retire at, but if you say retire in 55 to 65, you've got a lot of energy and you'll be spending more, so you could perhaps withdraw more. And then when you go, years where you're less likely to travel around the world, you can go back to perhaps 4% and withdraw 4% or 3% or less, but it all depends on the individual circumstances. So this video is to highlight what's out there, what's possible. Another thing about early retirement is that, of course, you've got your own time, you set your own time, your own timetable. So a good thing is to get into a nice routine and focus on your health, because again, it's always been the most important thing in one's life, but the health is now even more important. And so your health routine, your diet, and your hobbies, and mental stimulation, and have something to retire to. You do get, when you first start working, you sort of miss work in a funny sort of way. But if you've got something to retire to, for me, it's doing this sort of thing and passing on my knowledge, financial education. It's been like a new release of life, like a new chapter in my life. So have something to retire to, that hobby you always wanted to do, that now's your chance to do so. And then, of course, you have a new sort of community, you have a new people, have a community where you can, a small group of friends where you can sort of talk about your financial stuff, and exchange ideas, ideas and how people are managing their retirement funds, and also maybe speak to, on an annual basis, a fee-based financial advisor to go through your numbers, just to double check that you're on track. And so yes, and of course everyone's different. If you feel confident to manage your own funds, do so. But if you don't, of course, you may need to rely on a financial advisor who can help you manage your funds in retirement. I suppose one aspect is how to sort out on the way to retirement. You've got your 6-jar system, or different way of budgeting. Which, remember in my other videos I talk about the 6-jar way of managing your funds, where you've got a jar for your needs and your wants, a jar for education, training, upskilling, and a jar for charity, a jar for short-term savings and long-term savings. But now you've got different way of budgeting. So there's there's now a focus on managing the market volatility. So maybe you have a jar, pot, or account for 3 to 5 years of expenses in a high deposit account, and that is, so you don't have to, you can dip into it when the market's down, and you're not selling your stocks at a very low price. And there's no guarantee how long a bear market would last. So, from 3 months to sometimes, in the 2000s, it was 8 to 10 years. So one has to manage, one's expenses, but sit down and work out how much you can allocate to near cash, high interest account, and how much you can put into the stock market. So that's an exercise that's worth doing, maybe a year or so before retirement, and then review it on an annual basis. Yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to sort of talk about is the insurance. Insurance, review your insurance, review your health insurance policies, and make sure it's still needed or required for your life. There's self-insurance. You may have enough pot of money set aside for your health insurance, or you could pay a premium. And so different factors to consider in retirement. Again, thanks for listening. Hope you found this video useful. Comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.